Hey everyone, I'm Justin with AmericanMuscle.com, and today we're taking a closer look at the C&L slotted and drilled rear rotor and pad kit available for your non-performance pack 11 to 14 Mustang V6 or GT. Now, you guys should be checking out the C&L option here if you're looking for a super affordable rear brake upgrade for that S197 that will also look really good behind your favorite set of wheels, and also at the same time pair nicely with a set of aftermarket front brakes that you may have already added. So again, this is going to be a great low buck option for the non-performance pack GT and V6 owners out there looking for a subtle upgrade for the rear of your ride, improving both the stopping power and the appearance at the same time. Now, that slotted and drilled design is in place to help keep that rotor surface nice and clean and to ultimately help keep those temperatures down to help prevent brake fade. And as an added bonus, again, they do offer that nice visual upgrade behind your stock or aftermarket wheels. Think of this as one of those modifications that packs equal parts function and form, which, let's face it guys, is not always easy to come across. But let's dive a little bit deeper with the construction, and the C&L rotors are going to start off life as what is called a G3000 grade cast iron blank. Now from there, the rotors do receive that slotted and drilled treatment using precision machine rounded slots and beveled holes, and then the entire rotor is finished off with a durable silver zinc plating, which will help prevent or reduce, I should say, any corrosion on your non-friction related surfaces. Now this kit does also include a brand new set of pads here guys for the rear. This particular pad does incorporate a ceramic metallic material. Certainly gonna be a bit more aggressive than your stock ceramic pads, but at the same time, they're not nearly as aggressive as a carbon infused pad. So kind of right in the middle there in regards to aggressiveness, which in my opinion is nice for most daily drivers out there because you can expect low noise and low dust with this particular setup installed. Now, this is a great time to mention here, guys, the overwhelming number of positive reviews on the product page. If you haven't checked those out already, you can also check out a bunch of customer submitted images. So again, cruise on back to the product page, check out those reviews and images, of course, once you're done this video. All right guys, let's talk about another feature here with the C&L kit, and that is price point. You're gonna be looking at just south of 200 bucks here for the pads and rotors, which at the time of this video does make this one of the most affordable kits of its kind for the rear brake setup on your S197. And again, with that being said, if you've already upgraded your front braking setup or plan on doing it and are looking for a budget-friendly set of rears to kind of complete the package, if you will, this is going to be a really solid option. All right guys, last but not least, let's segue into our install section here, and site's gonna call this, I think correctly, a middle of the road 2 out of 3 wrench job on the difficulty meter. About 3 hours, maybe a little bit less to complete from start to finish, depending on how fast you like to work. But now to give you a better idea of just how things will go down, here's an AM customer to walk you through the job.
All right, so this is all the tools that we used here. So you're gonna need your breaker bar, torque wrench. I used a Craftsman wrench for adjustability for some bolts that I couldn't get to. Zip ties to hold in your caliper onto the chassis. You don't necessarily need a impact wrench, but it was pretty handy to take the wheels off and stuff like that. This is just a rubber hose that goes into a canister to hold the brake fluid whenever you're bleeding. Dikes to cut the zip ties. You have a 10 millimeter wrench, 13 and 15, an 11 millimeter socket, 13 and 15 millimeter socket. This is a kit that I rented from an auto parts store to compress the caliper piston. Of course, your choice of brake fluid, I used Prestone .4. I also used a 10 millimeter and an 11 millimeter to break the bleeder nut loose, because on the original brake caliper that I have originally from Ford, it's an 11 millimeter. I don't have an 11 millimeter wrench, so I used that. And then I used the Craftsman wrench to adjust and tighten it while I was having a helper to bleed out the system. And then my new replacement that I got from an auto parts store actually used a 10 millimeter. So I was able to use this with the box end and everything like that. So these are
all of the tools that I used. Now, of course, I have different types of lug nuts than some people do, but whatever lug nuts you're used to is what you'll use in regards to removing and installing your bolts on your wheels. And of course, you want to torque those down to spec, which is usually right around 85 foot-pounds. All right, guys, we are here to review and install on the C&L cross-drilled and slotted rear rotors, along with the C&L ceramic brake pads for the rear. This is going to be, in my opinion, a big upgrade considering I already have the fronts done, and I'm very much excited for how well these are going to do, considering that the ones I have right now probably have right around 20 to 30,000 miles on them. So this is going to be, in my opinion, a nice big upgrade. So let's go and get started on this. Okay, so for the next part, we're going to go ahead and remove the brake caliper right here. So you could have a couple options here. You can either use a wrench, a 15 millimeter, or you can use a socket with a breaker bar. Depending on where you live and how long your brake caliper bolts have been sitting on there, you might actually want to start out with a breaker bar to get it started, broke loose first, and then move on to your ratchet. So I actually have a wrenchable ratchet right here. That way it's a little bit easier for me, but a regular one will work just as fine too. It'll just take a little bit more time. But I'll go ahead and show you here. On the back, you're gonna have a 15 millimeter bolt here, and then right here towards the bottom, you're gonna have one as well. So before you do any of this, you wanna make sure that your parking brake, this right here, is loosened all the way, so that way you don't have any unnecessary tension on it, of course. And then we will go ahead and proceed with taking both of these bolts off. And then I'll go ahead and show you how to do that here in just a moment. Okay, so like I said, we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna use my 15 millimeter ratchet wrench. So I'm gonna go ahead and get it here on the top bolt first. You wanna make sure that you take this and you go to the right, because that's gonna be to this direction off the bolt. This is gonna be the left direction for loosening it. So you wanna go on up, pull, and then just go ahead and keep loosening it until you start to feel the bolt come out. I would also highly recommend that you do not take the top bolt out all the way first before loosening the bottom one, because it'll make the bottom one a lot more difficult. So then you go to the bottom one here, just like so, give it a good push. There we go. And then you got that one loose too. Now, before we remove these bolts entirely, you want to go ahead and have a procedure put in place to hold this up for whenever you take this off. Because if you let this just sit here and dangle, like how my rear brakes are, I still have rubber lines from the factory. You let this just hang off over here, you run the risk of ripping this off or doing unnecessary wear and tear onto these brake lines. So you don't want to do that. So there's many methods you can do. You can either have something right here that'll hold it in place for you, keep it out of the way, or what I like to do, me personally, I like to use like a zip tie. So what I'll do is I'll have it sitting over here, and I'll have a part of it, like usually right around here, zip tied over to like right around here, and just holding it into place, or maybe even having it right here so it's even much more out of the way. That way you can just keep it off, out of sight, out of mind, and you can work on your next part, which is just removing the rotor, which is an extremely easy process. Okay, so I went ahead and removed the bottom bolt. I like to have the top bolt, as the last one that comes off. One, just because I can see the bolt a lot easier to be removed, and I can actually hold this right here for whenever I can do the next step, which is taking it off, removing it, and then tying it over to whatever place I want to mount the caliper to when I move on to the next step. So that's off, bolt is out, put that on the ground. Now we're going to go ahead and just remove this. So as you can see, this comes out. So like I said, you want to go ahead and use your zip tie. I'm going to go ahead and route it right through here because that's actually a bracket. And I can go ahead and put it through. And I'll just put this through here like so. Come here, little guy. There we go. Got it. And then I'm going to route it right around here on the brake caliper. Just like that. Actually, I need to flip this around here real quick. And then once you get that flipped up, you can then go ahead and then just go ahead and route the zip tie, turn it around, zip it on right there like so. And these standard little black zip ties usually have enough strength to hold this up. And as you can see, since this is up like it is, you can go ahead and easily remove your brake pads. So my brake pads weren't bad necessarily, but as you can see right here, they were digging in. So even though I still had a lot of life left in this brake pad, this rotor right here was really, really worn out here on the edges. So there's a lot of fine grooves. There's even a really big lip right here. So that caused all of this indentation on the brake pad, causing unnecessary drag on the rear rotors and unnecessary drag on the rear wheels, probably causing some inefficiency in my fuel efficiency too. So go ahead and remove both of these, and then we'll go ahead and remove this rotor. Very, very easy process. You literally just take it off, and we'll go ahead. As you can see, this is actually factory, it's original, so we are definitely going to be needing to upgrade this. So we'll go ahead and put this over to the side, and then we'll move on to the next step. We got our brand new shiny C&L cross-drilled and slotted rotor. This obviously is not only going to be an upgrade in the fact that it's not worn out and not having any issues, but this cross-drilled and slotted rotor is going to add a lot more performance capabilities. The slotted little bits right here help move the brake dust out, and these drilled little holes right here are actually going to allow us to dissipate the heat a lot faster, instead of like how on this one, this is just a solid two-piece disc rotor. Now, not that this is necessarily a bad design, but this is just going to be a much better design overall. So, just like the previous way we took off the other rotor, to install, you just find the holes, put it on like so, and make sure that it obviously fits, and it fits all the right holes, and then we'll move on to the next procedure, which is going to be pushing this piston in. Now, there are a couple ways that you can do this. Obviously, we want to do this the right way, because the other way can unfortunately damage this. So some ways that people do this is they will grab a pair of like channel locks or big pliers, bite into this, and then twist this, because that's how this brake rotor piston works, is it works by twisting out, pushing out, and going back in. But by putting that unnecessary pressure on this, you actually run the risk of tearing this rubber boot here. You don't want to do that. So what you can do, and that's what we're going to do, is we're just going to rent from a local auto parts store a brake install caliper kit, and then they're free to rent. You just put a small little deposit. It'll have a little piece in here that'll engage with these little nodes right here. Twist this all the way on. We'll crank it down, and then this will go all the way in nice and flush so we can put in our new brake pads. Okay, so next thing we need to do after we got this all propped up over here is two things. One, we want to go ahead and get a simple clear rubber hose attached to your brake fitting right here. That's going to be your bleeder valve. But then you want to run this into your choice of a container. Like this is just a regular, soda cup from, fast food restaurant. We'll put that right there. And then that way, any fluids that will drain out of this will go into here, okay? And then I'll show you another procedure that we're gonna do after this, so that way we don't cause any air pockets. Next, before we use the tool that we got from the auto parts store that you can rent for free, you have to get the correct adapter. Just by the way, the adapter that we use is gonna be F on top of this. This fits perfectly into the rear brake piston. What we wanna do is we wanna break off both this bolt and this bolt to remove this top bracket off of your caliper. These are gonna be 13 millimeters, I'm sorry. And then we wanna go ahead and just break these loose, like so. And then go ahead and remove each of the bolts. And something I didn't mention before, but we wanna do is on top of this, is anytime that you remove bolts, you want to keep track of where you leave them all, because you don't want to have bolts just kind of strewn out all over the place, because then that kind of causes a messy workplace, and you're having a lot of problems trying to find parts and stuff like that, and it's not a good practice to have. So I would recommend either keeping them labeled or just keep them in areas that oh, this is where this is what this goes to. It just makes it a little bit easier for yourself in the long run when you're going back to reassembly. But as you can see, go ahead, we'll take off these bolts. Now we've got them both removed. We'll go ahead and take this down. Now, because I did have that right here on here like that, what we want to do is we're just going to go and loop that back over, and we'll go and tie this. And I'm actually going to go ahead and re-zip tie this through here. Actually, I'll probably zip tie it right through that. That way, this will give us access to this bolt right here. All right, so I went ahead, I removed that one zip tie. I actually decided to go ahead and mount it right here to the little rear spring. That way it gives me even more access to the availability of that bolt. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this back in here like so, get it all the way to the bottom. And now we can go ahead and start on the procedure of getting this on here. So what you want to do is whenever you get the kit, you want to go ahead and get your whole assembly, find the correct piece. Like I said, it's going to be number F for the rear calipers. I'm going to put that on there, and then you want to go ahead and have this lined on here basically like that. So you want to route this through here like so, push this just like that, get this all the way right up into there, and you want to go ahead and start twisting, basically getting all the way up there. So let's go ahead and get that like so. Okay, now we got that mounted just like that. Now we are going to go ahead and work on getting this all the way. So you want to go ahead and loosen this all the way to the bottom, so that way it actually has pressure on that. So now our next step is to go ahead and break this right here, and depending on what one you've got, it can be either a 10 millimeter or an 11 millimeter, because I know that I have an OEM one on this side, and I believe on this side it's 11, but on my other side, which is a remanufactured rear caliber, it's actually a 10 millimeter. So let me go ahead and take a look at that real quick, and I'll get right back to you. All right, so my nut right here for the bleeder valve was actually really on there, so it's probably not been, bled in quite some time. So I went ahead and I used an 11 millimeter socket on here. I removed the rubber line, put that on there, gave it, some slight pressure, and then it broke it loose. So now that I have that off, I should be able to actually go ahead and start loosening this up by hand. I'm gonna go ahead and kind of move all this stuff out of the way, put that right there, and then this will allow me to basically go ahead and start loosening this up and pushing this piston back into the brake caliper, and it's going to start pushing fluid out of here. So I'll go ahead and do that real quick. Okay, so now we got that. Now we should, in theory, be able to start pushing this in. So it might be a little difficult because of it's, being pushed out for so long. But if you look right here, we're already starting to get some fluid out right here. So just gotta kind of use your man hands and just keep pushing. Yeah, see, we're starting to get the piston to go in now. And then just keep adjusting this. That way it gives a tension on here. And then just keep going. And then I'll go ahead and get back to you once I get this a little bit more in, and then we'll see some more results here. Okay, and a side note, before you start really pushing this in, whenever you have your rubber hose into your container, you want to make sure that you have some brake fluid in here. I went ahead and used fresh brake fluid because we're going to be replacing all the brake fluid in the entire system once we get done with all of this. So once you have this hose down in here, if it happens to start, pumping brake fluid back in because the piston is coming out or going in, it's not going to be sucking in air bubbles, which is going to really prevent your brake system from starting to get air pockets, causing, not correct performance. It's going to allow it to really start to work really well. All right. So now we've went ahead and it will take a little bit of time on these older calibers to put enough pressure to push your piston all the way from, and sometimes all the way down to here, all the way up to here. But I do believe we have this piston all the way retracted in back to the caliper. So once you get that done, you want to go ahead and just break some pressure loose off of it. And then you want to go ahead and take this off. And then you want to go ahead and start reassembly, putting the bracket back on, this right here, with the brake disc back on, and then proceeding forward. So we'll go and get started on that next. And put the caliper support bracket on first. So that's going to be the two bolts that we removed earlier that were the 15 millimeter. So go ahead and slide on the bottom one first. Let me go ahead and line that up real quick. So just go ahead and get that felt in. Get a pretty good backing on here first. Get it kind of seated in. And you want to go ahead and work in the top one. Get that all the way in. And then of course we will go ahead and torque this one down. Now I will use the breaker bar to put this one on here as well to get it all torqued to spec. But we're just gonna get these on just a little bit first. So like I said, 15 millimeter. So we're gonna go and get these tightened down. Okay, there we go. And then we get my torque wrench out. Once we have the caliper, or I mean the brake pad bracket here on, we go ahead, we use our torque wrench, go ahead and torque these bolts out here to 80 foot-pounds. Okay, got that one. And then we get these last one here. Okay, and now we go ahead and we put our little brackets right here on the top and the bottom. I always mess that up, just like a USB cable. And then we go ahead and we put our brake pads, our brand new ones, on into place. Get them lined up just like so. And then what you also want to do too is you want to use a little bit of the synthetic grease right here to put on both sides, so that way these aren't grinding, making all kinds of noise. So let me go ahead and get that cut off right here. So cut this little sliver here. There we go. And we'll put just a little tickle here on each side. That way it'll just kind of prevent these from making a whole bunch of noise. Squeak out. There we go. Okay, perfect. Okay, we got that both on both sides. Then once we get that done, then we go ahead and grab our caliber, and we want to make sure that when we get this on here, that our little bottle that we have here is sitting off to the side. And okay, yeah, you wanna hold that for me, please? Perfect. And then we go ahead and we place our first bolt right here on, and we slide this over on both sides. Make sure that you're having both of these flat pieces lined up. And then we go ahead and put our next bolts in. So we get the first one lined up, make sure it grabs it, just like so. So that one's on there. And we go ahead and push, because now there's gonna be springs on each one of these brake pads, okay? That's to produce tension when you're pushing this on here to keep the brake pads into place. So we're gonna go ahead and get these on here. And then these are 13 millimeters. So we'll go ahead and we'll tighten them first a little bit by hand, just to get them kind of seated into place. And then we'll go ahead and torque these ones, of course, here in just a moment. Okay, let me go ahead. I'll be right back. I'm gonna get the right socket size for this. Okay, so I also want to reiterate, I double checked it, and the bracket bolts, even though I did torque them to 80 foot-pounds, the variation is, from what I was reading on different forums, is it's between 65 to 80. So I just did 80, so I rounded it up, felt a little bit better. Now our next bolt is going to be for these two right here that are on the actual caliber bracket that are attaching to the caliber. These are 24 foot-pounds. Okay, there's that one. And then we'll do this one. Cool. So those are now on. Now, our next step is, so since we did put this in here and we left the rubber hose all the way in, it didn't bleed anything, we're gonna go ahead, I'm going to tighten this off, and then we're gonna proceed to the other side. We are gonna do a full brake bleed here in a little bit, but first we're just gonna go ahead and repeat everything that we did here to the other side, and then we'll get right back to the brake bleed.
So wrapping this one up here, guys, again, if you are looking to upgrade the rear braking setup on your S197 and do so affordably, definitely consider the C&L setup that we're talking about here today, available right here at AmericanMuscle.com.